All right, let's talk about Summer Game Fest. Literally just ended about 3 minutes ago. Oh, that was a long show. 2 hours. Oh man. As with most of these shows, I mean, this is kind of expected, but they started with a bang, they ended with a bang, and the middle was very meh. There's a lot of slop in there. Uh, but we did get some cool stuff. So let's talk about some of the big things. I'm not going to go over absolutely everything because, again, it was 2 hours long and there's a lot of stuff in the middle that just isn't really worth talking about from my perspective. If you want to watch the stream, obviously do that. Or if you just want some thoughts on it, then that's fine. But I'm not going to go over every single thing. I do want to talk about the big stuff though. So let's talk about Resident Evil Code Veronica remake. It's just called Resident Evil Veronica.
First announcement.
Just gonna mute so that I don't get hit with copyright stuff. But this trailer looked pretty cool. It obviously was running an RE engine. Like when they showed it, I kind of knew that that's exactly what we were looking at. This character looks amazing. She's like extremely well animated, and obviously this is what we expect from Resident Evil at this point. What gets me about this is that Capcom is pumping this stuff out so frequently. It's crazy. This is supposed to be coming out next year. And I mean, Requiem literally just came out, and then now they're releasing this, which looks like a full-on AAA game. And I just don't know how they're doing it. I mean, they must have just planned. That's Claire, by the way. They must have just planned it like 10 years ago. They must have planned all of this out, and then they've just been like knocking it all out. And that's honestly the way to do it. And I'm hoping that other companies see the success that Capcom is having and they replicate it, because this is how you run a game studio right now. I mean, they do not miss. There's more stuff from Capcom later in this show, a lot more. Like half the show, half the really good announcements of the show are Capcom announcements. So we'll get to those, but it's just crazy that they are so consistently able to pump out games like this. It's really wild. So next big thing we got was this Cuphead announcement. So there's this cute little trailer here, and they basically said we're working on a brand new actual Cuphead game with the hand-drawn animation style. And then they also announced this, which looks like a sort of an 8-bit NES sort of spin-off of Cuphead as well. So I've never played Cuphead. It looks cool. I appreciate Cuphead. I've watched speedruns of Cuphead and stuff. People love the game. So for people that are excited about Cuphead, and it's obviously a super well-respected game, this is going to be a big deal for you guys. Alien Isolation 2, we knew about this game already. If you guys have watched my previous video about State of Play, you know I'm not really a survival horror guy, but people really apparently love the first Alien Isolation. It's very much a game about the survival aspect where you do not have many tools to fight the xenomorphs. You're really limited in what you can do. It's mostly about hiding, distracting them, getting through the level, and every once in a while you'll have a gun or a flamethrower, but not very often. So it's really like pure survival horror, which I respect. So I think that's cool, and people are really excited about it. Like I said, the first game was very well received. So we had Alien Isolation. Now this is probably the second biggest thing in the show for me. We already knew about this game. It's called Project Robot. It's from the director of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian, three of my absolute favorite games ever made. This looks like the evolution of those games. So this is basically like a Shadow of the Colossus inspired sci-fi future game. If we know anything about those other three games, this game likely is in the same universe, but sort of tangentially related. The other three games all sort of exist in the same universe, but they're like separate. This will probably be the same thing, except that it's obviously much farther in the future. But everything from like the way the character runs around to the aesthetic of these, giant Colossus robots just screams Shadow of the Colossus. Like, look at how he's running. He looks exactly like the protagonist from Shadow of the Colossus. But yeah, there's like a little bit of gameplay in here, running, gunning, climbing the robots. That I assume that's either. So I don't know if this is a cutscene or if this is part of the gameplay, but if we get giant mech battles in this game, so much the better. Like, how cool would it be if it's like Shadow of the Colossus? You got to climb these mechs, but then you like take control of the mech, and then you got to do a giant mech battle. That sounds awesome. It's now called the Gen Atlas, so we got to keep an eye out for this game. Obviously, it's going to be great. This team does not miss, so very excited for Gen Atlas. Looks great. All right, next big announcement. Blood Message is this kind of interesting, about 800 AD Chinese history game where you play as, I think you play as both a father and the child, and maybe even the child then grown up, in this sort of journey. We don't know much about the story, but in the pre sort of intro to the trailer, Jeff said it's about like a journey from one place to another. So probably just a linear action kind of game, which is great. Looks awesome. Chinese developers have been making really great games. So yeah, looks cool if you're into this kind of thing. And yeah, it looks pretty brutal. So we'll see how it goes. We don't know much about it, but just from the trailer, I mean, it looks really solid. This was kind of a huge announcement. We got this announcement from Paramount Game Studios, which is pretty new, but they announced that they're publishing a game by Platinum Games, which made Bayonetta, Nier, Ninja Gaiden 4, the premium action game developer, and they're making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game called The Last Ronin, which we assume is Raph. So, pretty cool. We don't know much about it, but we know it's going to be a super sick action game because that's what Platinum makes. And then we'll go through some of the kind of sloppy stuff in the middle. So there was like this weird indie game that is going to be streamer bait. It's about these two goose characters that have to carry around this egg. It's like a streamer bait rage game. I don't care about that. Crossfire is a new game from, I don't remember who the developers were. I think it's like some ex Naughty Dog people, which, I mean, you can tell just based on what the game is. It looks kind of like a, generic sort of stealth action style game. The one thing that they advertise is that it has this like adaptive cover system. So you can kind of see like right here how, well, maybe it's not there. Maybe it was a little earlier in the trailer. But like she crouches and like, yeah, she's moving around and she's supposed to like adapt to the cover that she is hiding behind. Yeah, see like this here. She's kind of like crawling around, adapting to the cover. So I don't know. Could be interesting. We'll see how it goes. It doesn't really look like my kind of thing, but you never know. It looks like it could be co-op maybe as well, but we don't know that for sure. They mentioned that the girl is the protagonist, so I don't know if she's the only playable character or if you can play as the other guy or what. But the main thing is that they're supposed to be working together. They're like opposing agents or something, and they're supposed to like overcome their differences to work together. Control Resonant, we've seen plenty of. We don't need to talk about that. Guild Wars 3 got a trailer. We don't know anything about the game other than they are really focusing on movement. So you can see here, they're clearly focusing on verticality and movement. Um, it sounds like it's going to be much more real time combat, so maybe something along the lines of Terra or um, Black Desert or something like that. And yeah, it could be cool. I my favorite part of Guild Wars 2 for the maybe 10 or 12 hours that I played the game was the exploration part, going to the different places where you can get a like an achievement for seeing this cool world. And this obviously looks beautiful. If they really lean into the exploration and the verticality and the movement stuff, I will probably play the game. Um, Especially if it's free to play. But we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, Guild Wars 3 got announced. Pretty cool. I know that a lot of people really love the first two games, and Guild Wars 2 is like still being supported today. So, uh, Star Wars Galactic Racer, we've seen the game plenty at this point, but this was more of like a story trailer focusing on, Sebulba and everybody's kind of rivalries and stuff, and they showed off a new planet. It looks fine. Um, I'm not really a racing game guy, but if you played like the N64 Pod Racer and you really loved it, or you've been waiting for this, then that's cool. Virtua Fighter Crossroads really surprised me when it was we just knew it as a Virtua Fighter project last year, but it really surprised me that it's like going for being a story and like it looks like having gameplay outside of the fighting. Very weird. Like I was not expecting this out of a Virtua Fighter game. There's like clearly some gameplay here where you're running through the city, which is interesting. So it could be one of those things where you're sort of running through the city doing parkour and then you end up in an arena, like here on top of this building, you do a fight and then you go on to the next thing for the story mode, which could be cool. I don't know. I've never played a Virtua Fighter game. I know there's quite a few of them, and I know that it's a beloved fighting game franchise, but I've always been more of a like 2D fighter person, so Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, this just never was my thing, but this does look great, and RGG is an amazing studio that's also making Stranger Than Heaven. We'll get to that. So yeah, they're just pumping stuff out also. I talked about Capcom earlier, how their cadence of game releases is so quick and they're just making so many like really high budget, amazing games and releasing them at this insane clip. RGG is another studio that is doing that also. Last year we got Yakuza Pirate, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii at the beginning of the year. The year before that was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The year before that, we got Like a Dragon Gaiden, and what else did we get? We got something else too from them, another Like a Dragon project. I don't remember. Oh, and also there was Yakuza 3 plus Dark Ties this year. They just keep making all these games. And then we've got this coming out next year. We've got Stranger Than Heaven coming out next year. So there's like, they just keep pumping these games out. It's kind of crazy where you have some studios that don't seem to know how to manage their budgets and don't seem to know how to manage their teams properly. And they take like 6, 7, 10, 18 years to make their games or whatever. That's actually the next thing we're going to talk about. But then there's studios like Capcom and RGG that are able to just pump out these games like it's nothing. I mean, obviously it's a lot of work. I'm not trying to diminish the amount of work. The opposite, actually. I'm actually really unbelievably impressed with how much work they can get done in such a short amount of time. But I think what it is better planning. So I'm assuming that what they've been doing is setting out a release schedule and a slate of games like 6, 7, 10 years in advance, and then just working on those games in a sort of a rotation, like a round robin style thing. And then they can just keep pumping them out at like a steady clip. They can get like, a team to work on one part of this game. Once that part's done, they can move on to the next game, and then a new team can kind of take over and start working on the next part of the game. It's just better planned. And you can tell that there are certain studios that just have a better sense of this. Capcom and RGG are the big ones, and then you have studios like Square Enix, where outside of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 14, they really just don't have much to show, which is kind of crazy because I mean, Dragon Quest 12 got announced in like 2020. Kingdom Hearts 4 got its first trailer in 2022. Those games, I mean, we just saw Dragon Quest 12, but it got completely rebooted. Like they literally scrapped it and started from scratch. Kingdom Hearts had Missing Link going for like 4 years. That got canceled. We still haven't seen Kingdom Hearts 4. It's crazy. Like what are these companies doing? And then the remake trilogy is impressive. I'm glad we're going to get the whole remake trilogy in a 7-year period between 2020 and 2027, but they were only able to do that because they had all of the assets built from remake to make Rebirth and then now Revelation, which we'll get to. Um, and so I think they should learn a lesson from that, which is you can make big AAA games at a more consistent clip if you're not afraid to reuse assets, if you're not afraid to just iterate a little bit on certain things, if you're not afraid to be really comfortable in your engine. RGG has their own in-house engine that they use, the Dragon engine, I think it's called. Um, uh, Capcom has RE engine. So I think like there are lessons to be learned here, is what I'm saying. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent. We'll get back to the actual show here. So there, there was Virtual Fighter Crossroads, RuneScape Dragon Wilds. Again, I don't care about it. We briefly talked about it during State of Play. I've got a friend that plays it, but I don't care. This game has apparently been in development for 18 years or something crazy. And it looks cool, but it's hilarious that this game about ostensibly a witch is probably going to be coming out right around the same time as Assassin's Creed Codename Hex or whatever it is. And this game is made by the creator of Assassin's Creed. Is that a coincidence? That can't be a coincidence. But also, like, it kind of just is. I don't know. The game does look pretty cool. You can like play as your cat companions. It looks like they can do maybe some like stealth stuff for you. The setting looks cool. We don't know exactly where it takes place, but setting looks cool. But it's clearly about like being a witch. You have like access to some magic and stuff. Anyway, the prologue is out today, so you can go download it on Steam. I might check it out, but yeah, it's just kind of crazy that this game took 18 years to make. No, I don't know the story. I don't know the story. Maybe it was like a publishing problem. Maybe they like had a publisher that dropped them and then they had another publisher that dropped them. Maybe by that time it had already been like 6 years and they couldn't make it for last gen consoles anymore, so they had to sort of restart. I don't know. But it's crazy that some games take that long. Also, it's funny that all of these say Summer Game Fest 2025. That's wrong. Saw Genesis. I don't care about that. It's apparently like a 3v1 horror game, like Dead by Daylight style. Whatever. I just don't care. Lords of the Fallen 2, we already know about. It's a Souls competitor. If you're into that kind of thing, it does look good, but I just don't really care that much. Blood of the Dawnwalker, we already knew about, sort of, but we got a little snippet of gameplay here. Play as looks like you play as a vampire or a vampire hunter or some combo of the two, and it's a combat game. Looks like, so could be cool, but there you have it. Blood of the Dawnwalker. Star Wars Zero Company. I actually think this could be a great game. I love tactics games, and most recently, Marvel's Midnight Suns was my game of the year when that game came out. I think that was like, what, 2023 when that game came out. And so I love tactics games. XCOM is great. Mario Rabbids is great. This clearly is XCOM coded. Um, oh, this is the video's not chopped up properly. Um, but yeah, so if you look at the gameplay here, it looks very XCOM, which I think could be cool. The fact that it's a Star Wars game is not the selling point for me. It's the fact that it looks like a cool XCOM style tactics game. No one cares about Star Wars anymore. Let's just be honest. It's a dead franchise, but it could be really good. So if there's like a demo or something, I'll definitely give it a shot. And if you're into tactics games, I think it's probably worth checking this out. Among Us. It's not even worth mentioning, frankly. Okay, let's see. Can we go back at all? No. They're not going to let me go back. Well, anyway, after these announcements, there was a couple more things, and then there was a Street Fighter 6 Year 4 announcement where they announced that Tifa was going to be in Street Fighter 6, which we already knew about. And then the big reveal, which everyone knew was coming, was that Final Fantasy VII Revelation is coming next year, spring. And it looks amazing. I'm not going to lie to you. Here's the reveal trailer. I'll just let this play in the background when I talk about it. It looks amazing. I mean, if you've played the remake up to this point, I've played through Final Fantasy VII Remake and most of the integrated DLC. I have not played Rebirth yet. I'm waiting for it to go free on PlayStation Plus before I do. But I mean, this game looks incredible. It's the third act of this huge sweeping story. They added Vincent and Sid to the roster, so you can play as them now. If you know anything about Final Fantasy VII, you know why Aerith is gone. But this is kind of the selling point: is you have the high wind and you can fly around, and at any point in the open world, you can just drop off the high wind and Breath of the Wild style, you can skydive down into the open world, and it looks insane. And I definitely am excited for it. Um, I'm glad that this game exists. I think this is a proof of concept for older, really acclaimed RPGs getting the full remake treatment. And I would love to see some other old incredible RPGs get maybe not this level of treatment, but close to it. If we get something even remotely close to this for Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy IX or Final Fantasy X, that would be completely nuts. And I would love it. If we ever get like a full remake of any of those, kind of like Chrono Trigger or something, would be bonkers. So I think this is proof of concept, and it looks amazing. I can't wait to play it. I think it's going to be probably the game of the year when it comes out next year. I don't think there's going to be much competition. The key art looks amazing too, by the way. I don't know if it's going to let me show you the key art here. But... oh, well, here you go. They said episode 3, spring 2027. So anyway, looks amazing. Glad it exists. And that was like the big thing to cap off the show at the very end of the show. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Another Capcom announcement that I know some people will be excited for is the Monster Hunter Wilds expansion, which is, it looks like it all takes place like in the sky. Basically, there's like all these sky islands and stuff, and you have these mounts that can get you up there, and you can, it looks really cool. I think Monster Hunter is awesome. I'm not really a huge fan of the gameplay itself, but the aesthetic is amazing. The concept is really cool. I enjoy watching people play the game. I think it's really a really sweet game. So Monster Hunter Wild's got this huge DLC. It's funny. I was actually just talking to my best friend about this yesterday, um, and we were saying that we were expecting to see a big Wilds expansion coming, kind of like Iceborne was for Monster Hunter World. And there you are. So we have it. We have it now. Was there anything else? Pal World 1.0. I don't care about that, obviously. Was there anything else that I missed? Okay, yeah, here's the Monster Hunter Wilds. Ascendance is what it's called. So yeah, it all kind of takes place up in this sort of sky islandy area, which is cool. You got this flying mount thing. You can kind of fly up into the clouds. It looks pretty sweet. It's the kind of game where if there wasn't the monster hunting aspect of it, it might just be fun to just run around and explore the world because it's so gorgeous. I mean, look at this. It's unbelievable. So, and yet again, Capcom, I don't know how they're doing it. They had like what, 4 announcements during the show? There was the Veronica reveal at the beginning. There was this. There was the Street Fighter Gear 4. And then, Onimusha was at State of Play. So, like, it's crazy. They're making so many games. It's completely wild. There was an Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced thing in the middle of there somewhere. And oh yeah, Sonic got a 35th anniversary trailer. They're just putting more stuff into Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, like Evangelion and Godzilla, which is completely crazy. I don't even know how they have the rights to those things, but there you have it. And then they're making like a little like an indie game, they called it. It looks kind of like just like a multiplayer sort of rage game thing. Yeah, Avatar, Godzilla, Evangelion. Yeah, there's this like Pico Park thing. I don't actually know anything about this. It looks really silly, but anyway, Sonic still going fast. 35 years. I think it's funny for like the 35th anniversary that this is what they released, but it is what it is. Well, that's fine. We weren't. We watch Smash maybe someday. But anyway, there you go. That's the Summer Game Fest lineup from this year. Uh, it looked pretty good, I would say. I think the start of the show was really the the part that was the most exciting because there was genuinely new stuff. Um, there's the Veronica reveal, Cuphead, Gen Atlas got its full trailer. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. Like the beginning of the show was very front loaded, with lots of great announcements, and then it really slowed down. There was some just like kind of weak stuff in the middle. That's just how it goes. They had to fill time, and companies had paid for these ad slots, so they got to show these trailers. A few little interesting things here and there, but the middle was pretty meh. And then the end, obviously, the big bomb was Final Fantasy VII Revelation, which, again, looks great. So definitely excited for that game, and people are going to absolutely go nuts when it comes out. We did also get this gameplay trailer where they talk about jumping off the airship, and then you can fly down and parachute down wherever you want, ride your chocobos, and then they did like a little Sid and Vincent showcase as well. Was Vincent at the beginning of the trailer? I think that was a separate trailer. Oh, here we go. So Vincent has like this, shooter mode, a la Dirge of Cerberus, and then his combat, he has his human form, and then he can turn into his beast form. And then he has a synergy with Sid where Sid can ride him and they can do combos, which is very cool. And then Sid himself, also very aerial, very Dragoon style gameplay, which makes perfect sense. Glad we got to have a full gameplay reveal for Vincent and Sid. They showed off these like new outfits. So there's a job system in this game apparently. So you can very much like a dragon, you have your freelancer job class, and then you have these other job classes that you can go into that change your move set apparently, which is very interesting. I'm sure they change your stats and stuff as well. So very cool. Was not expecting that. Yeah, this trailer's crazy. There's just so much going on. But yeah, huge cast of characters. Obviously, the finale of this huge trilogy that has been years and years and years and years and years in the making, and should be very cool. Spring 2027. Simultaneously on all platforms. That's important to note. Square is like really focusing on multi-platform. They want to release on everything simultaneously, including Switch 2, which is pretty wild. And yeah, that's like their big focus. So I would expect this to be the norm for Square Enix moving forward for anything Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. It's coming to all platforms now. They've basically cut off their relationship with PlayStation from an exclusivity standpoint. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Summer Game Fest. Obviously, pretty big show. This is like the main big summer show, but there's still some things coming up over the weekend. There's going to be like an Xbox showcase, which I'm sure we'll get some interesting stuff at as well. So I'll probably talk about maybe not just the Xbox showcase, but probably the whole weekend of stuff, maybe on Monday. So other than that, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my commentary. Let me know your thoughts as well. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.